Yes, we're continuing our focus on the 2023 general elections. Well, you also did see that the chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, did speak at Chatham House, and he touched on this part, which is the component, the part that we're going to talk about now, an inclusive election. So we have two gentlemen joining us virtually to shed light on that part of Professor's speech, INEC chairman's speech. Mr. Jacob Pelle joins us. He is the CEO of the Albino Foundation, as well as you'll also get to see Philip Hisulo, who is the technology consultant for the Albino Foundation. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for joining us on the program today.
Good morning, Chamberlain, and thanks for having us.
All right.
Thank you, Chamberlain.
Okay. Let me start with you, Mr. Pelle. I mean, listening to the INEC chairman, that part where he spoke about inclusive elections, you must have been thrilled about it. But what were your impressions when you heard him speak about that?
Thrilled, yes, I am. But my greatest, the greatest impact that his speech made on me is the fact that I can beat my chest and say that at the end of the day, we're going to have truly inclusive election driven by science, driven by data. It will be accurate, it will be achievable, and most importantly, the community of persons with disability will be served.
So about this data that he says they've got to ensure inclusive elections for physically challenged persons, how does it work? What is it about?
All right, Philip will throw more light on that, but what we've been advocating for since 2017, when we were challenged to provide data, and so we went to work to design a dashboard that would be able to pinpoint at each polling unit nationwide where there are clusters of persons with disability in their disaggregated manner. In other words, where are persons with albinism? Where is it that you can find a person who are blind, the deaf, those on a wheelchair, every segment of the disability community represented, and recognizing their needs and ensuring that their need will get to where they are. This will be one election, the process of the inclusivity that will be guided by science. That way we're able to know exactly where the clusters of persons with disability are and how best to reach them.
Yeah, but before Philip comes in, just a minute, before he comes in, could you just shed some further light? I mean, yes, you talk about being guided by science. How significant are these? What kind of figure or data do you have for physically challenged, and such that everyone, including politicians, too, need to pay attention to ensure that they also listen and ensure that they provide or meet their needs, as it were?
Very good question, Chamberlain. Let me say categorically, and in my opinion, that well over 16% of the entire electorate will be persons with disability. And also to say that any candidate that failed to pay attention to the community of persons with disability will lose this election, because we have the numbers, and numbers is what determines who wins an election. And we are prepared as a community to ensure that we reach every nook and cranny of this country as an organization, to reach every nook and cranny of this country where persons with disability are, to ensure that they get involved in the process. That's why we launched our Able to Vote campaign, which is a nationwide campaign on voter education. Your guest a few moments ago was talking about voter education. We need strategic voter education, reaching the people we are targeting. Not only that, but ensuring that the people that we are reaching will effectively participate in the electoral process. The final result is how many participants will participate in the electoral process. We are believing and trusting the process. I have implicit confidence in Professor Mahmoud. His seriousness and doggedness to inclusivity. He has proven it that he's not paying lip service to it. He's actually doing the job. And the Albino Foundation, now TAF Africa, will support INEC. We are the one creating the dashboard guided by INEC data, the data they have in their system, and we'll be able to link our system with their system, of course, giving them the opportunity to be in charge because of security issues. All right. And we work together to deliver inclusive election. Chamberlain, it will be the first in Africa that we were able to use this process and guide the electoral process and ensure that these community of people that have not been participating in the electoral process will participate. I never voted until I was 58. And right now I am going to be 61 in May. So you can imagine all these years of not being given the opportunity to say who will lead me as a citizen of Nigeria.
Oh dear. I wanted to continue with the line of questioning for you, but we certainly have to bring Philip into the conversation. For instance, I'd like to know what precisely would have been the barrier for someone like yourself. But Philip, you know, of 19 million people, we understand that, oh dear, I understand that Philip is not exactly on the Zoom link right now. But let me continue with you then. What exactly was the barrier for you why you couldn't vote all of these years?
Okay, I'll answer that, but Philip is on call. See, Margaret, it takes 10 minutes.
If you can hear me, please.
Oh, it takes 10 minutes for me to born. It takes 10 minutes for me and any person with albinism to get born under the sun. 10 minutes. Now, gradual burning leads to skin cancer. I'm a skin cancer survivor. And so why would I go and stand in the sun for hours, you understand, trying to vote and then come home and die? You know, so that was one huge barrier. The second is that I'm not able to see. Maogwe, you're a friend. There are many times I've passed you and I didn't recognize you. And in your usual humility, you will call my attention. Others will think that, oh, he's just being brash. He doesn't want to say hi. But they don't know that I don't see, So we're introducing, INEC is introducing magnifying glasses for person with albinism. And that is why, because there is this provision, we have the greatest number of persons with disability who are eligible voters, and they are persons with albinism. The data are there to prove my claim.
Well, for a number of people, that would also be bordering on ignorance. I mean, in terms of, the challenges that people with disabilities face and, what sort of disabilities do exist. But let me ask you, Philip, when you look at the data, we understand that a significant sum or a significant population of the 19 million Nigerians living with disabilities are registered to vote. Can you give us accurate figures of, how many, and, what would you say the greatest challenge or the greatest barrier has been?
Okay, so I wouldn't give you figures. That's why we built technology that enables you to get those numbers if you want. And right now I'm on the portal, and any Nigerian, once it goes live, will be able to access it and see those numbers for themselves. And like Mr. Jake spoke earlier, it's been disaggregated. So if you come to the portal, you can go to a state of interest to you. and then you'll see how persons with disability is distributed. You're able to get numbers. For instance, in Kaduna State, there are 617,000 voters, who have one form of disability or the other, and that's a huge number. And for albinism, there is 1,520. So that data is disaggregated already. So for me to be on national TV and give you information that you cannot verify, it's what we've tried to solve by building a portal that allows you to get that information by yourself, And of course, like has been said earlier, part of the challenges that persons with disabilities face is that there has not been any system that has been put in place to enable them to, or rather to account for the unique circumstances. A person who is blind or who has one form of physical impediment will struggle to vote on election day. They may struggle to get to the ballot papers. And what INEC has done is to provide Braille-based, what do you call it again? Ballot sheets. But what our platform is enabling them to do is to know how to distribute that Braille sheet. You can know the state and local government and up to the polling unit level, the number of voters who would need that assistive device to be able to cast their vote. So the challenges that people living with disability has encountered all these years is what this INEC in this administration is trying to address. And our platform is built to enable them satisfy that need more accurately. And like was said earlier, we have this data coming from INEC. Since the continuous voter registration started, INEC has been capturing various data points on registered voters, which includes knowing their various disabilities. So what we are doing essentially with this platform is to connect to that data that INEC has captured over time and present it in a way that people can relate with it. And also INEC officials at the polling unit level and at the state level, at every level, can be able to know how to distribute materials, how to account for different persons and their unique disabilities. So yeah, that's what this is.
Okay, let me send this to my colleague, Ayo. He has a question for you.
Well, thank you, Malkwe. Well, Mr. Pele, the question that will naturally come is, again, the level of education, voter education or political education at that you would say comes to physically challenged people, or, definitely they will be in different grades. The level of education will be in different grades to different people in the different classes of this subject matter, in order to bring inclusiveness. Because it's not just about knowing that you need to vote. There are some other things that go with it. So in terms of education, participation includes educating the voter so that they know what to do, when and how. So how would you see us going in that direction? Or you think it's too early to call?
I don't know who is directing the question to.
It's to you, Mr. Pele.
Voter education.
Yeah, it's to you. The question is for you.
Okay, you're talking about voter education, Ayo. It was difficult to hear you, but what aspect of voter education? Because the persons with disability have peculiar issues, and if you want to really reach them and ensure that the awareness you're creating, they will understand it and it will make impact. One, you have to speak the language that they understand, language like sign language, which we provided during our Able to Vote campaign. You have to make sure that the environment that you're going to gather them are disability friendly. So we look for ramps and an environment that anybody with different kinds of disability can stay safe when that individual comes. You also ensure, because of some of the challenges within the community, poverty being one of them, you just make sure that they have enough resources in terms of money for transportation to and fro, and of course, the information you're going to share must be in what we call an accessible format. So it's a whole lot of very complicated process, but doable process. And that's what we are here for, and that's what we've been doing. It's not a perfect situation, but we insist on making it perfect. And of course, with the help of organizations like yours and several channels, giving us the platform to express ourselves and to reach our community is a task that must be done.
Well, Mr. Pele, closely related to the issue of voter education for persons with disability is what it would now look like.
It's also difficult to hear her.
Can you hear me? Is it clear now?
Yes, we can.
All right.
Yes, I can.
Yes, so closely related to voter education for persons with disability is what it would now look like on election day. For instance, you say that you can't stand for 10 minutes under the sun. So in those areas where there happens to be clusters for persons with disability that INEC has identified, when they arrive, there are different polling units, for instance. Are they going to join the queue? And what form of assistance has been provided by INEC, to ensure that they get over and done with in good time, because these are people with special needs? I wonder if you have anticipated what would happen to that extent.
Okay, well, I'm not trying to sweet-tongue you. I think channel your staff, you are very professional, intelligent in asking questions. That's a very intelligent question. I must say that there are two strands of delivering an inclusive election, to the best of my knowledge. Number one is what I call the product. The other one is the process. So let me attack the product. The product are specific physical devices or physical, it could come in form of Braille, paper, technology that you deploy to assist eligible voters with disability to perform their franchise. That INEC will provide. And don't forget, when we advocated for Section 54, subsection 1 and 2, which is the Electoral Act, the Electoral Act provides by law that INEC must provide these things. So INEC has acquired them. And I want to commend Professor Mahmood because he did not acquire them on his own, unlike what many government establishments do. They will do things for us without us. Professor Mahmood insisted that the community of persons with albinism must sign off. I did on behalf of the community that this is what we need, the magnifying glass. And every other cluster signed off on this is what we need. Okay, so there'll be Braille, there'll be magnifying glasses, there will be posters for our deaf brothers and sisters, Now, process, one is priority voting. Unlike before, once I arrive at the polling unit, and anyone with disability, you have the right of vote. You have the first right of vote. So you go talk to the supervisor. He sees your disability, knows you're a person with disability. You'll be given the first spot to vote and leave if you have to leave. So and for those who are blind, they will be led by their caregiver, and they can vote and leave. Those who are any form of disability, you have priority voting. Those who are blind, like I said, will be led, get to a place where there's a Braille jacket, fix the Braille jacket, they vote and go. Those who can't read the Braille, their assistants will help them to vote. And let me say here, because this is a very powerful national television opportunity, do not allow your caregiver to tell you who to vote. Who to vote is your own civic right, and don't allow anyone to take it from you. So it's important that you know this. For places where there are issues with access. If there are opportunities for RAM, it will be there. I can't guarantee that it will be across board, but this is the beginning of good things to come for the community of persons with disability. I believe that this will be the most inclusive and credible election ever going forward. But also to say that Nigerians should not be disturbed. Insecurity has always been there, but it's not insurmountable. We will go over it and we will deliver credible, fair, and inclusive election at the end of the day. And that's why many of us are working at the back end to support INEC, give them the resources that they need,
all right,
you know,
so
to ensure that. Thank you, sir.
I think it will definitely put a lot of smile on people's faces when they hear that their vote will count, but nobody wants to see any sort of drama or some more magic happening anywhere. So let me flip to Philip on this one to probably share his screen and demonstrate to us how that technology works. I mean, can you go to any local government area and see what's going on, Philip?
Oh, yes, you can, exactly. Chamberlain, you totally understand the technology. All right, so my screen is being shared, and I hope it's picked up for Nigerians to see. Oh, beautiful, yeah. Beautiful. So on this platform, you can see that we have the map of Nigeria, and the states are colored differently. This is a heat map, so it just shows the density of persons with disability in each state. Kaduna, Lagos, and Sokoto seem to have the highest density of persons living with disability who have registered to vote in the forthcoming election. You know, so for instance, let's take Kaduna as an instance, and as a voter, as an INEC official, as a Nigerian who is inquisitive about the information and the data, I hover on that state. I can already see a breakdown of how persons with disability is distributed in that state. You know, and the same thing goes for any state you hover on. For your base state, you can get that information. But if I choose to click on Kaduna, for instance, and yes, I get a screen loaded for me, and it shows me the number of voters with disability in that state. I can also see the number of polling units that have persons living with disability in them over here. And I can also, when I scroll down a bit, I'm able to see how that number is distributed across the various and disability groups that we are interested in, or rather that has been captured by INEC. So for albinism, you see is 1,520, and for blindness, you can see the number there for deafness. And that was why earlier I said, with this system, I don't need to have the numbers on the back of my head. You know, I can always come back here and get that data accurately. And the good thing about this is that you can also go to the local government level. So say for Kaduna State, I choose to go to Kaduna South, and I would see that number also for that particular local government. So there are 194 voters with disability, and I can see the polling units that are of interest here, over here on my left. So it's really going to help anyone who wants to get this information, in particular INEC officials who want to know how to distribute these voting materials that addresses the needs of each group of persons living with disability. You know, and you can do that for the ward level also. You see, you go to the television ward in Kaduna South, you can see the numbers also. So I know that I need to provide support for one person with deafness, and I can see the polling units where that person is, you know. And if I need to provide Braille voting ballot papers, I would also know that 3 would have to be provided for this ward. And for polling units, I can, of course, choose any polling unit of my choice, and I see that number also. You know, so this enables Nigerians, civil society group, persons with disability, and so forth to get this information at the click of button, and it's quite responsive, very fast. It's accessible on mobile devices, and it would really go a long way to help INEC in how it distributes voting materials and accounts for the needs of persons living with disability. So yeah, it will come online very soon, and it will be accessible from electionhub.org.ng. So when that happens, any Nigerian who is interested in this data can go in and access it. And all of this data came with the support of INEC. Like I mentioned earlier, since the continuous voter registration started, INEC have been capturing more and more data points to understand voters, and disability is what we are focused on, and taking that data and presenting it in this format. So as registration continues after this forthcoming election, this data will be updated and would subsequently be used by anybody who is interested in the data. Yeah, so Chamberlain, this is a little rundown of the system. There is a lot more that this platform is also doing. On election day, we're also able to see how security personnel are performing at the polling units. We're also able to observe how INEC responsiveness to the needs of persons with disability happens. We built a mobile app that observers from civil society group and also from the Albino Foundation are able to use to send real-time reporting to the data. So it's quite, it will be a system that will help both the Albino Foundation in producing reports that will help decision-making, and for INEC also to be able to know how they performed in the election. So it goes beyond showcasing the data of persons with disability to also capturing real-time information on election days.
Brilliant from the Albino Foundation. I mean, this is, it's good to know that all the security agencies, INEC, everybody out there, that our eyes are on you. We're watching to make sure things go well. Well, gentlemen, we have to let it go at this point. There are more questions, but, you know, it's good. We'll give people the tip of the iceberg in terms of what to expect. So now they know that good things sure can come from Nazareth in the manner of speaking. We have to thank both of you, Mr. Jacob Pelle, CEO, the Albino Foundation, and yourself, Mr. Philip Ihesula, technical consultant for the Albino Foundation. Thank you both, and all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you.